Hey guys, it's David. Welcome back to the channel. And today I'm going to be reviewing the brand new home media release of Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. Let's get into it.
We gotta get out of here.
We're gonna take Umbrella down.
So I'm going to break this review into two parts. There's going to be a spoiler-free section and then the spoiler section. I'll include a timestamp in the video description for when the spoilers start. I'll even include like a little icon as well on the screen so you guys know for sure when those spoilers are coming. Before we get into the video, hit that like button, subscribe for more videos, and click the bell notification so you're notified every time I drop a video. Let's get into it. So I really wanted to love this movie, you guys. I really did. I'm a huge Resident Evil fan. As you can see, I've played the games. I've been a fan for a very long time. Ironically enough, I was a fan with the movies before I began playing the games. I personally am a fan of the Milla Jovovich, Paul W.S. Anderson films. Again, never played the games, so I didn't have a context as to what the story was. I still thought they were fun, post-apocalyptic zombie movies. But I knew that the fan base was not a big fan of those films. I understand why. Now playing the games and understanding the source material, I can totally understand why people are not a fan of those films. And now knowing the source material and seeing those movies with this film, I'm not a fan of this. So we're going to break that down. Honestly, I think this film is a step in the right direction for getting more in touch with the vibe of Resident Evil. However, I do believe it's a step back in terms of video game films as a whole. The Resident Evil franchise, it was just such a misfire in my opinion. I even watched the behind the scenes footage from the Blu-ray, and they were talking about how they were really excited to be, having a true to the source material Resident Evil movie, and I don't know how they missed it, because you could tell they had a heart and, a strive for wanting for this to be good and of quality. But to me, I didn't like it. And I think this was a huge misstep, and there was a lot of choices made, character-wise, story-wise, that just didn't fit with Resident Evil. And I know that that's saying a lot coming from, someone who likes the Milla Jovovich films. But to me, those films had a charm to them that this film doesn't. And those films almost kind of sit in their own alternate timeline, if you will, for Resident Evil. I will say though, for positives, because I don't want to rain down on this movie's parade. As I said, I wanted this film to succeed. I want Resident Evil as a franchise to succeed, and this is still a franchise that has huge potential. The video games are AAA. The story is amazing. The storylines they're continuing now with Resident Evil 7 and 8 could totally be made into movies. So I don't know how this film was such a misfire when it had so many opportunities and so much potential to be the Resident Evil movie that video game fans wanted and movie fans could enjoy as well. I will say, however, they perfectly captured the tone of Resident Evil in this film in terms of vibe, look, just overall atmosphere. Certain scenes are ripped straight out of the game, such as, the truck coming in from Resident Evil 2, the semi-truck. There's one scene in particular which is when the STARS team is coming to the Spencer Mansion, and it looks ripped straight out of the video game, like the live action reference cutscene. It was so cool how it was like, I feel like I'm watching the video game from the 90s. And also, those video games are as old as me. I am as old as Resident Evil, which is crazy to think. But I will say that for this time round, they did get it right in terms of characters actually being from the games in the movie for the most part. We'll get more into that in the spoiler section. I just don't think that these characters were the characters from the game. They were them in name only, and that's about it. My one buddy, Kyle, who I mentioned before on the channel, he's a huge Resident Evil fan, and he made a really good point of like, it's like they took aspects of the characters and heightened them to an 11 that it just didn't fit them. And it kind of turned me off, because I'm like, finally, we have these characters, we get to see them on screen. Some of these characters for the first time. And it was just, I didn't like what they did. And, as I said, you could tell they were fans of the games, and they wanted to give the fans something that, that they would love and that they would want. But yeah, it was just misstep after misstep with this movie in terms of the character development, which there is none. That's another huge problem. This movie's way too short and packs way too much story for its runtime. They combine essentially this plot lines of Resident Evil 1 and 2, a little bit of 3. They also combine storyline and beats and give those scenes to characters that are in the movie, but to different characters that never had those plot lines, which made zero sense to me. Yeah, I don't understand, honestly don't understand how this movie got made. And that's sad to say because, as I said, I really wanted this movie to succeed. I was rooting for this movie so much to be good, and it just... I want Resident Evil to do better, and I don't think it's being taken care of with the care that it should. And it's, as a fan, as a movie lover, as an actor, I look at franchises and stuff that I want to be a part of or stuff that I love, and I want it to do well. I want it to succeed. That's even why I bought the film, even though I'm not a fan. I would give this movie a solid, 4 out of 10, which is sad to say, because I want it to succeed. I want to show Hollywood or whatever industries what you want. You vote with your money, right? With whatever you want more of, you pay for. So I'm trying to, if there's a franchise that you love and you want it to come back or be better, you vote with your movie ticket, you vote with buying the movie, you vote with supporting that franchise, right? So yeah, I think that this movie, as I said, it's great in terms of the tone of Resident Evil, not so great in terms of character development and story. They make some really odd choices in this film with, especially, they change how the virus escapes, basically, which made zero sense to me. They also changed the background history of some of the characters, which are huge characters and fan favorite characters, that they just completely changed their backstory, which made zero sense to me. And yeah, there's just a lot of interesting choices that I think may have looked good on paper, but just this script really needed a lot of revisions. The movie also just ends. It's too short. It just ends. There's too many characters in this film. I think you totally could have taken Resident Evil 1 and just made it its own movie. There's enough storyline to go in there, especially with the Resident Evil remake. They add in a couple characters, which is another good part about this movie. They do bring in Lisa Trevor from the remake. They do bring her in. But yeah, they change some of the character motives, and I'm just like, these are the characters and story in name only, basically, which you could say is the same for the Milla Jovovich films. But as I said, those films I found had a charm to them that this film, as I said, just doesn't have. In terms of the action sequences, they were bland. Some of them were fun. However, I will say, as I said, in terms of tone, it was a lot of fun. There are locations ripped straight out of the game, namely the Spencer Mansion and the police department, the RPD. Set design in that was absolutely amazing. I believe they used a lot of green screen, I was told, so they could literally just recreate locations from the games, which was absolutely phenomenal. However, I will say I do think that, I did like a lot of the recasting as well for all the characters. That was not an issue. It was just how the characters were written. It was just, these are not the characters that I grew to love and, are fan favorites in the Resident Evil franchise, which is a shame. Now to the spoiler section. This is your spoiler warning. Again, if you haven't seen the film, stop here, go watch the movie, come back, we'll talk about it. It'll be a good time. Well, I wish I could say the same for the movie, but we'll make it a good time. So on to the characters. Kaya Scodelario as Claire Redfield. Honestly, I think she did a really great job. She looks like Claire. Only thing she was missing, again, with Chloe Fraser in the Uncharted franchise, she's missing her iconic ponytail, which ironically enough, again, is another Sony Pictures film. So I don't know what's going on over there with the character accuracies. I don't know what's going on. People need to do their homework. Honestly, she was a lot of fun. She was definitely kick-ass. She felt like Claire. And I also think that, just as much as Ali Larder felt like Claire back in the original films. They give Claire this really weird, conspiracy theory storyline with this contact that she has still in Raccoon City. Oh yeah, so the whole plot point of this film that they absolutely change is that the virus gets out through the water supply, which makes zero sense because everybody knows that in the Resident Evil storyline, there was always the outbreak starting at the Spencer Mansion, which is kind of undercut and taken from this film, even though you have the Spencer Mansion as a location. Again, weird storylines that make no sense, even though they literally could just give it in the film, but they choose not to, which is really odd. If we do get more films, I'd love to see her, be explored more with like the Resident Evil Revelations 2 storyline, or just more Claire in general. There's rumors that she may even show up in the Resident Evil 4 remake in the video game, so that could be even more potential storylines for her. However, I do think that we needed to see more of her. As I said, there's too many people in this movie, and nobody really gets the screen time that they deserve, which is really unfortunate because I think there was a lot of potential for some really cool character moments and really cool beats that they could have taken from the game and put in live action, but they just couldn't because there wasn't enough time for any of those character developments to happen. Overall, I think Kaya Scodelario did a good job. I think she's a good Claire Redfield. Hannah John came in as Jill Valentine. Again, people were upset with her being race-bent in this film. I did not have an issue with that. I think Hannah John Kamen is great. I really enjoyed her in Ready Player One as a villain, so it was cool to see her as a hero this time. Even though, again, her version of Jill Valentine, I think, again, they did her dirty. She's a character that's a fan favorite from the games ever since Resident Evil 1. They kind of turn her into this, like, crazy kind of loose cannon that just is not Jill. And as I said, I think they did her dirty in this movie. Because again, here's another strong female character that's just also reduced to having a crush on Wesker. That's a new storyline change in this film. Jill kind of has this like schoolgirl crush on Wesker, and she's like always trying to like be with him and always trying to like get approval from him, which was just so odd to me because they're enemies, you know what I mean? Like, even in the games, her and Wesker, like, never really got along. So for her to all of a sudden be, like, his, like, pseudo, like, crush in a way, it was just so odd to me. Again, I think they did Jill dirty. But, however, I think Hannah John Kamen did good with what she had. She had some cool action sequences, namely the one with the helicopter crashing into the mansion. I thought that scene was fun. Again, don't know how they survived, though, because, like, it shows them clearly, like, getting hit by the blast, but I'm not going to question it. It's a Resident Evil movie. I'll take what I can get at this point. Overall, I think she did a good job as Jill Valentine. Evan Jogia as Leon S. Kennedy. Again, had no problem with the recasting. I think he's a super great actor. I loved him in Zombieland 2 Double Tap, so he's already got history with zombies in his filmography. Plus, he's also from Victorious. He's Beck in Victorious, so that's why he probably looks familiar to a lot of you. I just thought it was kind of funny that, like, Beck from Victorious is Leon in Resident Evil. It was just like, we live in this world. Okay, cool. Which, honestly enough, I think is hilarious and great. Honestly, again, another character that they did super dirty. Leon, yes, is a rookie cop, but he's not like this bumbling idiot that doesn't know what he's doing half the time. And yeah, like he's the butt of every joke. They're like making fun of him. There's even a scene where, like, again, Jill, they like make, as I said earlier, they make her out to be this hothead that like almost shoots Leon just to like have like a little parlor trick like to show off in the diner. And it just made zero sense, and just everybody's just mean to him, and like he has no backbone. He can't like stand up for himself. And then again, they changed the storyline. He's like this washed up cop that like, I think he like killed someone. Honestly, I can't remember. This movie's very forgettable. There's not a lot to remember in this film, which is really sad because I really wanted to like this movie. I'm probably going to say that a lot in this review. It's, as I said, a lot of these characters are in name only, and that's about it. I think Evan Jogia is a good Leon. I just think that, yeah, they did him dirty. They didn't give him a lot to work with. They kind of made, again, another fan favorite character nothing like what they are in the game, and honestly kind of made them unlikable. It's just really sad to see because, yeah, he's a huge game and a lot of people's favorite character. So I was really excited to see him play Leon in this film, and for him to get this treatment, it's just not fun, and I kind of feel bad for him. Overall, though, I think he did best with what he had in the film. I hope we get to see more of him. I hope we get a sequel. I'll take what I can get at this point. But hopefully both him and Hannah get their due as characters in the next film. Hopefully. Tom Hopper as Albert Wesker. Again, what? They make, again, like the oddest choices with these characters. Wesker is kind of this like, yeah, he kind of has this like jock vibe to him, which is fine, but it's just an odd choice for like what will be the franchise's main villain. They chose not to give him his glasses in this film because they thought it would look weird at night, but also like, you're doing a movie about zombies. it's not realistic to begin with. Do you know what I mean? So it was just like odd things. Like, again, if you're trying to make an source accurate movie, why not just give him his glasses? They explain it away later. So in the end of the film, and in the after credit sequence, after it's kind of revealed that like he survived being shot and he's still alive, that Ada Wong revived him, again, played by Lily Gao. Again, in name only. If they did not say that that was Ada Wong, I would have had no idea. Other than the tan coat that she wears from the Resident Evil 2 remake, could have just been some random chick. Cool. So back to Al Wesker's like glasses. So as part of the side effects of whatever Ada used to revive him, he can't like see well in the light, so he has to wear the sunglasses, and that's how he gets his iconic sunglasses. And again, it was just such an odd choice, and I'm like, okay, but like, why? Yeah, like as a game fan, for me to not know what was happening a lot of the time, it was not a good look for this film. Which is really unfortunate because, yeah. Robbie Amell as Chris Redfield, which is like my personal favorite character. Him and Jill are my favorites. I thought he like looked absolutely like Chris Redfield, had the look down, had the personality. It was great. But again, they had to make this weird choice of him being like a Birkin fanboy, and he's like on the police department because Birkin got him there, and he was like, oh, I'm gonna be a part of Birkin's family. So yeah, Birkin in this film is like the head of the orphanage, and here's like a huge story plot change. So Claire and Chris are orphans in the Raccoon City orphanage, and Birkin is like the head master of the orphanage, and he takes some of the kids and experiments on them. Don't know where they got that from, because that's not in the source material at all. And then for him to kind of be like a fanboy of this guy who's like experimenting on the kids around him, like, why would you want to be around someone like it? And they kind of imply that he knows about it, but not. Again, they set up some stuff in this movie and then do nothing with it. Like, again, with the whole water supply thing, when Claire visits her brother, she's like, he leaves because he's like, oh, like, because he gets called into the RPD, so he leaves, and then Claire's trying to figure out why Chris doesn't get affected by the water supply, but everybody else is. They do nothing with it. You never find out why. They kind of imply that, like, maybe him and the rest of the STARS team got these, like, injections, but it's never confirmed. They don't say why. It makes zero sense, which would make sense if everybody in the city is getting water which is tainted with the virus. Would they not all turn into zombies? Only some of them do, some of them don't. Make it make sense is what I'm trying to say. I don't think any of the actors did a bad job in this film. I think they did the very best with what they had. I would love to see all of them again in future films, if we got one. As I said, I just really think that, this franchise is not handled with the same care that a lot of other video game franchises or even just movie franchises are. And I just think that, either they need to stop with this film and just reevaluate and reassess as they go forward, or just leave it at this point, which is sad to say, because they want to make more films, and I'm like, please don't. Like, if this is the direction, do not, like, please don't, like, just leave it at that point. I would love to see a more game accurate story. Please don't combine stories anymore. For the future of Resident Evil, I think, to succeed, I think we need to take each game and just adapt that game as a film. Get a 2-hour movie. If you really wanted to combine stories, you could probably combine Resident Evil 0 with Resident Evil 1, because then you could have a side plot or a subplot of the characters from Resident Evil 0 happening alongside Resident Evil, because those do take place in the same time frame. So I think that could work. But in terms of something like Resident Evil 2 and 3, and then the rest of the franchises, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, that's just too much story to be combined into one film. I think it's been proven that that's not a good formula for them to succeed. And I hope that, and sadly enough, I hope this film has them learn that. So if they are going to go forward with movies, just take it one game at a time, one storyline at a time. Focus on those characters, focus on what was great from those games, add that to that movie. You can always make, nuances and new ideas, but as long as you have the heart of what those storylines are, I think you'll be golden. And I think when you have something like this where you combine two storylines together, you don't really take the good parts of them and you change the origins of a lot of things, it's not really the same story anymore. And if it is, what parts of it do feel like it kind of feel like missed opportunities or not as good as they could have been because, you had this thing that you could have easily adapted, but then you chose to take other things, and I just don't understand it. Unfortunately, as I said, I would really only give this film a 4 out of 10. The action sequences weren't that memorable. There were a couple scenes that were ripped, as I said, straight out of the game. The zombie head turn in the mansion, the scratchy itchy or whatever it's called, itchy tasty, that's what it is, written on the window. There's a lot of fun Easter eggs in this film, that I will say. They kind of give nods to some of the more creature mutations that are found in the game, not really found in the movies. Like you have the yawn, and I believe it's the Poseidon or the Nautilus. It's that shark in the game. Yeah, here we go. I can't remember the name. Fake fan. There's a lot of nods and Easter eggs throughout the film, which I did appreciate as a fan, because you can look at certain things and go, oh, that's from this game, or oh, that's from that. The train from the Mila Jovovich films is the train that gets them out of the city at the end. Oh yeah, the city isn't nuked. They change the ending and have it be this like self-imploding bomb. But then again, they have this like really weird shot of like this cow getting like thrown by the shockwave, and it makes this like comical moo, and it kind of reminded me of like that cow scene in Twister, like the flying cow scene. But at that point, it just made me go, I'd just rather watch Twister, because that's just a better movie than this. Your movie should not do that. If you want your movie to be good and there's scenes in it that remind you of better movies, not a good sign. Unfortunately, I would only give Resident Evil, as I said, a 4 out of 10. However, I still want this franchise to succeed. I want these actors to have jobs. I want this franchise to get more sequels. So I'm hoping that the studio will learn from the mistakes of this film, change it as they go forward, because as I said, I do believe Resident Evil could be a phenomenal film franchise with lots of entries. There's so many games to choose from and so many ideas and storylines and plot lines that they could choose from. As I said, I think it has a ton of untapped potential. Thank you guys so much again for watching. If you guys like this video, click that thumbs up button, hit subscribe, and click the bell notification so you're notified every time I drop a video. Thank you guys so much again for watching. Bye.